What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Fresh Take season review edition. Rob, how you doing?
Good, man. What's up? Thanks for having me back, man.
Yep. And we also have Mr. T from the Mr. T Show.
Hey, that foods. What's up?
Alrighty, so we're going to be taking a look at the entire season and giving our thoughts on Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I can feel the hate. So, yeah, but we have the second Disney Plus Marvel show recently wrapped last week. Last week you check out me and Vicky's episode 6 review if you would like, but this is for the entirety of the season. So what I wanted to do first for this one is give our what we thought didn't work, and then we'll go through all the good stuff. So I'm not going to start this off. I'm going to have T start this off. So what you think didn't work?
Didn't work?
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. Why are you going to give me that one? It had to be minor little things. Trying to conceal who the power broker was. That didn't work.
That did not work. Jesus, that didn't work.
I think we all pretty much knew right from the beginning. I guess in a way, I think them trying to justify the Flag Smashers, I felt like the show was trying to give them some kind of justification, and it could have worked, but I don't think it worked for the show. That would be my biggest one, is that there just wasn't enough meat on that bone for this. I agree with their cause, but their methods were so jacked up, like I couldn't get behind it. I just think because, right at the end, even at the end of the last episode, up until then, they were still trying to justify them, saying, "Hey, no, we need to do this. We need to care about." No, not if they're doing this kind of stuff. I don't need to care about what their motivations are. So that was my one I can really think of as far as what didn't work. So.
Okay, well, let me ask you this: is this Rob? This one's for you. Do you think this is one of those shows that probably would have benefited from having 1 or 2 extra episodes?
That's hard for me because I'm the kind of guy who almost always wants more. So I guess I would say yes, but at the same time, I think one of my favorite things about this show, like when you compare it to WandaVision, is the fact that each episode was so much longer. And so and they got a lot of content and crap shoved into every episode, like in a good way. Like that was definitely one of the best things about it. So could it have been 2 more episodes and been maybe better? Yeah, but I do want to also give them credit for like how much story was packed into each episode, except for the last one. The last episode didn't have a whole lot of story. It was a couple of big reveals, and then it was the big ending, which was cool. But the first 5 episodes, there was a lot of meat in there. So I guess I could kind of go 50-50 on it,
50-50. Okay. My main issue was the power broker stuff. I think they could have left that out. I honestly think they should have left that out because, one, here's my issues with the power broker from an MCU standpoint. Okay, so you're telling me that Sharon didn't get blipped. All right, that's number one. You're telling me she didn't get blipped. Steve Rogers didn't either. So you mean to tell me that she was on the run for 5 years and Steve Rogers just like, yeah, I don't know you.
Right. Yeah, if you really dig into it, it's like
that don't make any sense. Now it would have made sense if she got blipped, came back, and then is because I think this takes place 3 or 4 months after Endgame. I think it is.
Yeah. I think they said 6 months. I think they said it.
I think it is 6 months.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now if you do it like that and she's on the run, okay, fine. The other thing too is, I don't think her being the power broker works. I think if you have somebody over her, it works. Mm-hmm. But I think her being it doesn't work.
No.
Because there was stuff that was said in the episodes, like she was talking about straight up killing Carly and the rest of them when she saw them for stealing the stuff and leaving.
Yeah.
So if she's the power broker.
I'm sorry. I was going to say that's a major turn for her character out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I can understand she being pissed off because, Steve went back and got with Auntie over her. I can understand it.
Yeah, I mean you don't become an evil villain over that.
Yeah.
Well, and we also don't even really know what she knows about what happened, in the battle of Endgame and the whole thing afterwards, and Steve going back in time. Like, she was involved with Shield when Shield was around, but then Shield goes and she went AWOL, we learned, until being blipped.
Yeah.
And then when they wrap up the battle, and like I said, Steve going back in time, I would think most people don't necessarily, like the world probably doesn't know that stuff. And I don't think she would have been in the know really either, right?
Yeah,
so
especially she's on the run.
Yeah, you're right, because she's on the run because obviously she ain't getting along with anybody back, in America or wherever all the, where the Avengers are. So, down the road, like in like another season or maybe in a movie, they might fill us in on what she knew. And they might even tell us, like, Jay, you bring up the thing about Steve not wanting to go and deal with her during the blip period. But I mean, they might like fill us in on that stuff. Like maybe they give us a backstory. Chris Evans apparently is going to appear again, but we don't really know. Maybe he appears in a flashback to show us all that stuff. So long story short, they might tell us more about the stuff we don't yet know,
Yeah. I mean, that was just one of the things that just it didn't make any sense. Don't get me wrong. I love Emily Van Camp. She's awesome as Sharon. She really is. But that part just was like, it don't make no sense.
In the moment, in
Yes.
the here and now of the show, it feels awkward for sure. Like I'm not a huge fan of it. Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know about you, but if you just got reinstated and got pardoned, I would not be talking shit on the way out of the building.
Yeah, and you're like, this is the government, right? You don't know who's listening inside that building. I don't know.
And she's doing that like she just literally walked down the steps and making phone calls like, yeah, we got all this. Like,
I'm back in, guys. That felt very TV, but that's all right. I mean, it is a TV show, but
that part was just funny to me. That was hilarious to me. I was just like, wow,
she's basically doing like the triple agent thing where she was like a double agent when she was a power broker. Now she's back on the inside, but still the power broker. She's like a triple agent or whatever. I'm with you, Jay. Like, I like her. Like, overall, Sharon is cool. Emily Van Camp is a good actress, but I just don't know how I feel about it. It doesn't feel natural. They have to really, and maybe that's one of the big plots of, we're jumping ahead, but Captain America 4, maybe one of the big plots of that movie will be the power broker. Maybe she's going to be the kind of big villain that Sam has to like fight and take down and get out of the U.S. government kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. I still have my reservations about that entire plot, but that's neither here nor there. The other thing that I found was hilarious was that if I'm Bucky, you got to drag me from Wakanda kicking and screaming. I wouldn't have been in America.
Yeah. Why did he leave?
Like,
he found peace.
I'm like, okay, so I was the Winter Soldier. I did some questionable stuff, but I'm in Wakanda now.
Well, didn't they kind of set up that like the Dora Milaje like almost didn't want him there anymore?
Yeah, they pushed him out. I think that's what.
Yeah, that's what I thought so.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Look at it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at it again for that too, because I just found it to be weird and odd. Just because, especially if you watch Endgame and Infinity War, he loved Wakanda. He ain't want to leave.
Yeah.
Well, and they helped
him, man. I got to put this arm back on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now, let's get to the part that everybody loves. Let's talk about some cool stuff. So, I, for one, loved the themes of this series. And I think a lot of people are going to be claiming woke, but you're really going to be telling on yourselves because this ain't what that is. They're talking about real stuff, and if it don't happen to you and you can't relate to it, okay, that still doesn't mean it doesn't happen to other people. And the thing is, they talked about both Black people and veterans.
Yeah,
and I think that was I love those talking points. One of my favorite characters in the series was Isaiah Bradley, hands down. Wasn't him but 2.5 episodes.
Yeah. Some good makeup, by the way. He doesn't look that old in the face.
He really doesn't.
I wondered that. I was like, I can't tell if the actor was really that old or not.
No.
No. He's like 67, I think.
Yeah.
Carl Lumbly.
He's old, but he doesn't.
He doesn't look like that.
Yeah, he doesn't look like that.
He does not look like that. No. But they did a great job. I loved especially the first 3 episodes. I love the stuff with Bucky.
Yeah. He had some superhero background too, right? Wasn't he like Mr. Bradley? Wasn't he like Mantis or something back in the day?
Back in the day, yeah, he was.
Remember that show Mantis? That was like one of the first superhero shows I used to watch.
Oh, you mean not in the?
It was in the mid
Marvel,
'90s.
though. That's a different.
No, it
show.
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't Marvel. It was like
got
an independent comic, I think.
Yeah, it was 97 to 99. I think it was. It was on Fox. It was on Fox. I remember that.
You know how Fox do. They,
yeah. Hey, y'all like this show? Y'all really do?
Yeah. You can watch Ally and McBeal though.
Yeah.
We'll keep that on forever.
Yeah. But yeah, those are just some of the things that I liked. I do love, man. I'm a big GSP fan, George St. Pierre fan. I love when he shows up. I do, and he plays it well. He plays Batroc well. I hope they did not kill him. Yeah, because I need him in Deadpool 3.
You know, I just realized he's an MMA fighter.
Really?
Because I'm like, I kept looking at him like he looks familiar to me, but I wasn't expecting to see him in a movie in that kind of setting. So it just kind of a little bit threw me off. And then I was like, wait a minute. I was looking at the cast and I was like, oh yeah, that's why I know him.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about him. I didn't even remember him as Batroc from, I think, Winter Soldier.
Oh, Winter Soldier? That was my favorite one, so I definitely remember.
Oh yeah, I mean the movie's amazing, but I totally just had forgotten him. And I remember I tweeted after I watched the first episode, and some people said something about, oh, he's the MMA guy who's Batroc, and I was like, I didn't know he was in MMA. That was new to me.
Right when MMA started getting real hot, it was him, Liddell, Frank Shamrock. Yeah, they were the ones that were on top. Anderson Silva, they were the ones that was on top of MMA. And I think he left after the fight he lost. I think he hurt his shoulder and he just never came back. And that's when he got cast for Batroc in Winter Soldier. I'm like, I get that Marvel money too. I ain't gonna lie.
He's probably stoked to have a reason to come back, because it's been how many years? Like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years since Winter Soldier, probably. Longer. Actually, probably when was Winter Soldier? 2014,
which means they shot it in 2013. I can't believe it's
that long ago.
Yeah, great. That's phase 2. Remember the phase 2? Holy smokes.
Yeah. So, and they shot it in 2013, which means I want to say his last fight was 2012 or 2011.
Wow.
So, I am a huge GSP fan, so I was happy to see him back. I really want him to be in Deadpool 3 just because the whole mercenary thing. And plus, Deadpool does pick on Batroc a lot. It's hilariously funny. So,
but he died. He died.
Dude. How many times have we seen people get shot and miraculously live? We done seen people in movies and TV get shot in the head and be like,
MCU die. It's a die.
I'm like, dude, these folks don't die. So, all right, Rob, quick question. How do you like Elaine showing up in the MCU?
Man, I'm weird about it, man. I don't want to say that I dislike it yet. And I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Like, Seinfeld's one of my all-time favorite sitcoms. It's like a top 2 or 3 for me. So it's it's cool to see her in the MCU. That's neat. I don't know, her first scene was just I don't know, it felt heavy-handed to me. She's she comes in, she's like, I'm the person who obviously knows secret things, and here's just a quick I'm just gonna verbal diarrhea at you real quick to make it sound like I'm this know-it-all person. And she just you're gonna answer the phone, and you did all the best things. You married this lady, and you're gonna be this da-da-da. And I mean, and so I don't know, it just was such a weird thing to just throw in out of nowhere. It felt a little bit better when she showed up at the end of the last episode and set up the whole U.S. agent thing. That felt cooler to me. I actually thought for a minute after her first appearance, I was like, maybe that's the power broker. I couldn't tell she was on the U.S.'s side or whatever. Even though I still thought it was going to be Sharon. I was like, maybe it's not Sharon and it's this lady. So yeah, I don't know. She's fine, I guess. It'll be interesting to see if she's going to be a big player going forward, or if she's going to be more like a Robert Redford in Winter Soldier kind of thing, where it's more a big, a notable actor comes in for a couple of scenes, once or twice, and then is gone forever. I feel like she might be more that going forward. You know?
I'm actually hoping they keep her around. I like the character in the comic book. I'm not going to say her entire name. It's way too long. But I like the character in the comic book. She does serve as a foil for the espionage side of Marvel
Liaison.
Comics. Yeah. So
Is she
she's
heavily involved? Like, does she have like a long story in the comic? Because I wouldn't know.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, she's been called Madam Hydra. She's been called a
Yeah,
lot of
I
stuff.
do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's interesting because she did have a relationship with Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that'll be interesting to see, especially since in the MCU, Nick Fury's off Earth.
mm-hmm.
So that'll be very interesting. But I think
That to me is one of. I'm sorry, dude. I just want to say that's one of the most interesting, like, floating plot threads to me right now in the whole MCU.
Yeah.
Is Nick Fury and the whole space thing. It's like, what the hell? Like, I can't wait to come back to that.
yeah. Yeah. So I think it's gonna be interesting because the whole Hydra thing, cut off one head, two come back. That is starting to be true because you never really get rid of Hydra. In the comics, they didn't beat Hydra like 6-7 times,
Right.
and they always come back.
They always come back. Yeah.
And this is a good way to do it, especially with Nick off Earth. So someone of her intelligence and just the way she runs Hydra is way different from when Baron Zemo ran it, way different from when Arnim Zola and even Red Skull ran it.
Yeah.
So she's way more devious in a way that is unsuspecting until it's too late.
Yeah. I will say, it's like seeing her, the actress Julie Louis-Dreyfus, like it was a little bit jarring. It reminded me of like Gary Shandling.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, that's Gary Shandling.
Yeah.
Like I can't see him as who you're trying to make me see him as. He just looks like Gary Shandling to me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, she was fine. It was just a little bit jarring to see her.
Well, here's one of the things. Because some people have issues with the MCU when they do this, like with Jeff Goldblum when he was in Thor Ragnarok. They was like, he's just playing Jeff Goldblum. I'm like
he worked really well.
Yeah, and
I
that's the thing.
agree. He was so
fit
good.
that movie so well. Like it wasn't as jarring to see him.
Yeah, but the thing, I'm like, I've heard people complain about stuff like that. Like even with Tommy Lee Jones in the first Captain America, I'm like, they're like, he's just playing Tommy Lee Jones. I'm like, yeah, but it works.
Yeah.
So
it's funny you say that.
I forget he was in. Yeah, he was like he
it's
fit to me. He fit that role really well.
Yeah, he does. And I mean, it's funny because I think between the second to last and last episode, my fiance and I randomly just watched the first Captain America because I'd wanted to see it, and she had never seen it actually.
Yeah.
So I literally just re-experienced that whole movie and Tommy Lee Jones, and like, yeah, Tommy Lee Jones is always Tommy Lee Jones, but with the right actor, you can just make that work wherever you put them.
Right.
I think Jeff Goldblum and Tommy Lee Jones, they just work wherever they are.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, T, like it's like he worked,
Yeah.
And I think this is gonna be the same thing for Julia Dreyfus. I'm like, it's just gonna work.
Yeah.
It's just gonna work because I like her quirkiness in it because it gives you that familiarity because everybody knows her from Seinfeld. I mean, everybody knows her from Seinfeld.
Now Veep
and Veep. So you're like,
oh yeah.
dude, we know who that is, so we like her automatically. Which the only thing I don't want to turn into another Tom Hiddleston Loki situation where like we don't want her to be evil because we just love her too much.
Well, I mean, that was my thing. You talk about Sharon. It's like that's why she did, because she was like, she had Cap's back in Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War and Winter Soldier.
But she had his back and whatnot. And she would just seem like the true blue, like, patriot and stuff. To see her make this turn without really any explanation on screen anyway, it was a little bit too much for me. So that's what I worry about with Julie Louise is that she, like, I know her as, oh my God, I know her as a person, I can't remember her name. Yeah, from Seinfeld, and then also in Veep. She's very likable, so it's going to be weird if she has to be like a villain, so.
I think one of the things because I agree with you so much about Sharon, and it's just, the whole thing is weird and it's hard to believe. But what I like that I think they're trying to do is, I think a lot of what the show did is tried to sell us on the idea that 5 years of the blip, like a lot of time has passed and a lot of motivations of people has like changed. And like and different problems were created, which is why, and you said this at the beginning, T, I don't like the Flag Smashers. I never bought into it. I did not like Carly. Like I like the actress, but I just didn't like the character. And I had so many
Disney likes
problems.
her too.
Yeah, apparently, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, that's Enfys Nest. Like,
Yeah.
totally that is. But and so I don't like that whole thing. But what I do like about the idea is they tried to sell you on the idea that in the 5 years where half of Earth was gone and the world falls into chaos and the governments are messed up, like different problems, people like the real regular people on the ground who struggle are finding different problems to have to try to fix. And so a movement was born out of that.
Yeah.
And so that was the one cool thing about the Flag Smashers
Right.
I liked. And when you relate that to Sharon, I think it's a similar thing where like her problems and her motivations changed in that 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't think they've delivered on it yet very well, in that respect, but there's a kernel of a cool idea there if they do it well.
Yeah, I mean, I like what they. I mean, Flag Smasher was just one character. He was a super, anti-hero, I guess.
He was a douchebag.
Okay, yeah, he was a douche. But he was just one character, and I thought it was really clever how they made it a group, and called them the Flag Smashers. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. Definitely better than just throwing Flag Smash in there and just being himself.
Yeah. So that leads me to this question, and either one of you guys can answer. We know that it got released pretty much, I think, Saturday morning that Captain America 4 was greenlit with Sam as Cap, with Winter Soldier back, with Bucky back as Winter Soldier.
It spoiled the final episode for me, even though you kind of saw it coming.
Yeah.
I saw the image of him with the suit and the wings, and I was like, well, shit. Oh, sorry. Anyway, now I know what's going to happen in the last episode, So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the question is, since we know that's going to be Captain America 4, should they do a season 2 of this to try and answer the rest of these lingering questions, or should they do something in another one of their shows where you have Power Broker show up and start doing stuff and going into the backstory of how she got to that point, to that place like that? Mm-hmm. How do you reconcile that? Because it's like 10 more shows is coming out between now and next year. Yeah. So you got time to try to okay, we need to talk about this before we get to movie 4, because I don't think the 4th movie is coming out till at least 2023, at least. So either one.
I would say, I don't know what would be a compelling second season. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they come up with something. Yeah. I think I'd rather just see her in a movie. Mm-hmm. Or unless they gave her own show. I don't know if the slate's already filled. Like you said, there's 10 shows coming. Call it Marvel Power Broker or something. Yeah. but I mean, I wouldn't want to explore it in another season. I'd rather have it be a thing that's explained and explored in a movie, and she's a side villain or a side character or something. That's just me, though. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't really thought too much about it.
I do agree with T. I agree with you. That specific story, I don't think needs a new season. One cool idea they could do, though, and this might even be their plan, is they could, Captain America 4 could be the immediate follow-up to Falcon and Winter, to this show, and then after that, the next season of this show could fill in the gap between Captain America 4 and whatever comes next. So they would stagger it, Captain America 4, season 2 of show kind of thing. That could be really neat. Yeah, something like that.
That'll work, because there are a couple of stories they can use from the comics, but they kind of involve mutants, and I don't know if they want to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, I'm ready. Mutants here. It's about time.
I'm ready.
Well, because that's one of the things I do like about her being Power Broker, because I have an idea of how now you can put Bolivar Trask in a position of power without having to go into this ridiculous backstory. Because if she's selling stuff, she's going to have Tony Stark's archive. You sell it to Bolivar Trask, this is how he makes Sentinels.
Do you guys think that her character, whenever it ends, this is just a way out there prediction, do you think because I think she's destined to die. Her character will come to an end. Yeah. I think she'll die. Do you think that she'll die as a bad guy or a good guy? Do you
She's
think
gonna die as a good guy.
I think she'll die good. Yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna get redeemed because the thing is, I would think if they didn't show her interactions with Bucky and Sam, I would think she would die evil. But there's stuff in there. She's not fully gone. She's just pissed. She's pissed. She's a woman scorned. She's mad, and she's gonna get revenge on the U.S. government because one, she did the right thing, and that's another thing that I did like about this season. They showed like, okay, look, Captain America, he broke the rules when to save Bucky and all of them. He got hailed for it. Isaiah Bradley breaks the rules, go saves his entire platoon. He gets thrown in jail for it.
Yeah.
You know,
Winter Soldier
to me is the heart. Oh, go ahead.
Goes 100 years murdering people everywhere. You know, and he's redeemed.
Just talk to a therapist and we'll let you off the hook. Yeah. I think to that point, Jay, like that's kind of my favorite part about the show. To me, the heart and soul of the show, even though there was only two main scenes, really was Sam and Isaiah. Yeah. That whole thing, that whole backstory was easily my favorite part of the show. It was like so powerful. That first scene, I watched this by myself. My fiance had to catch up later, but that first time that they meet and they have that conversation, he kind of explains like, dude, this is what it was like. This is what you don't know happened after Steve fell into the ice, which they didn't remind the audience of that, but like Steve wasn't around at the time. This is what they did to me and my platoon, my brothers and friends. And man, when he finishes, I know people hate the woke shitter, but I don't care. When he finishes that thing and he's like, you know, they won't let a black man be Captain America and no self-respecting black man would be. Like, I have a different relation to the topic and I get it, but I'm telling you guys, it was powerful. I was like emotional.
That whole sequence, God. That whole scene was just like, bro, I had to watch it twice. I rewound it. I'm like, dude, they dropping the feels through.
Right. I mean, I've heard my uncle speak that way. So it was so real to me. And he was a veteran. It was so real to me. I was like, wow. Did my uncle contact you guys and talk about this character? Or
did he get paid to write this show?
Yeah, like I need to call him and see what's going on.
Can I just like ask you guys, like, just like the concept, like what, I don't know if this is too deep to go into, Jay, it's your call, but what do you think about the idea of if a Captain America existed, just the conflict there? And I know that it also made people, because they continued that on with that scene with Sam and Bucky when they were doing the training with the magic shield and all that stuff, which I also thought everyone lost their minds over that. I thought that was also really good. Can I just like, what do you guys think? Like,
well, first of all, I hate everything that deals with social issues to be called woke, because woke that becomes like, it's like a caricature, you know, to not be taken seriously. And once you call something woke, you know, it's whatever, it's a joke.
Yeah,
it's not
whatever now.
You know what I'm saying? Like I hate that has become a thing to just bottle all this stuff up, all these true issues. I hate the fact that when you talk about these issues, it's called political. It's like, no, we're talking about people. We're talking about
it's life.
We're not talking about government officials. This is about people.
In
Why
real
is that
life
political? Like when you put stuff into political box and you put it into woke box, they do that to make it, to kill its impact, to lessen it. And, I hate that. That's what I hate about the whole thing. But this is real life. Like this, people deal with this. We've had this history that a lot of people just don't want to deal with in this country. Sorry, so sorry, but this is real life. This is what we've dealt with for countless centuries here, sadly. So it's what you do is what Germany did. Germany didn't hide from what they did. They went above and beyond trying to fix a guy who wasn't even from their country and what he did. They apologized in many ways, and they continue to make sure that we'll never go back to that. But this country, a big part of this country just doesn't want to deal with the history of it. And we'll never get past this until we do.
Yeah. For me, I'll put it like this. That scene right after when the first scene when Bucky takes Sam to go see Isaiah and they go back out the house and Sam is furious, rightfully so, because nobody ever told him.
Yeah.
I can relate to that because I've had discussions with some of my white friends where I have had a cop pull up and ask what was going on, And was I bothering? And we were just talking. And I'm like, bro, really?
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, and I was just sitting there looking at, because at this point, I've
That
had so
scene was
many.
too much for me, man.
Yeah. At that point in my life, I've had so many times that happened. I just couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
And that kind of made it worse because the cop then got mad. But I'm like, dude, you have no idea. This is like the second or third time this week I've been stopped by somebody like you who's stopping me for no reason. And we can't even have a conversation.
Yeah.
So it's one of those situations where, yeah, like T said, this is real life. This ain't no woke stuff. And people who saying that's why I tell people all the time, you keep saying that, you're telling on yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
you said that at the beginning. Yeah.
You keep telling on yourself. I'll put it to you like this. Shannon Sharp said something real interesting about the whole Brett Favre situation where he says,
That's that dude,
you
right?
don't, you don't know, you don't have black friends, you know black people. And that's what a lot of people problem is. You don't have black friends, because if you can't empathize with somebody, if you can't sat down and actually had a talk with somebody, how can you understand their pain? Yeah. You can't.
I was trying to explain that to somebody. I can't remember who it was, a couple of years ago. And I was like, if you haven't sat down with, if you haven't invited them over, black people over to your house, sat down, you guys actually break bread together and you talk about this type of stuff, then y'all ain't really friends. Because I talk about this type of stuff with all my friends. So you just know black people. you have black acquaintances, but you don't have friends until you've actually dug into the person and know what they're dealing with.
And I think there's nothing wrong with asking questions. Like a lot of black people, we have no problem answering questions. Yes. But the thing is, you have to be able to listen, because the point of views are always going to be different. Because, like Rob, I have no idea what you've been through in your years on this planet.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But if you wanted to talk to me, I will gladly sit here and listen, and not try to deflect, and not try to talk about Chicago. I've never lived in Chicago, so talk about Chicago.
Yeah, we start throwing Chicago. I mean, you telling on yourself, just like you said.
So, but I would sit here and I would listen, because that's to me, that's how you get to understand somebody. You listen to them. You don't talk. You listen. You let them tell. Don't ask somebody their experience, which I've had this happen. Don't ask anybody their experience, then get mad at the answer. So yeah, I have this show was one of those shows where I have told people, and I will say, and I'm saying it again, if you got mad about Captain America and Winter Soldier, just wait till the X-Men get here, because they prepping you for that. They prepping you. Yeah. Because Fox, one of my main issues with Fox was they never really touched on the racism. They never did.
They skidded across the surface.
It was very top level.
They were afraid to go there. You know, I kind of get it. But we weren't ready yet. You know, I think now at this point, people understand, and people are actually listening, and they're not afraid anymore. Like, that's the thing. Here's a show. It completely surprised me. I didn't expect social issues in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Like, I wasn't expecting to cry watching this show. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I did, and I feel like, and on top of that, you know, the whole get woke, grow broke, that's not a thing. Yeah, they say that, but that's not a thing, because you know why? This was a #1 show. Okay, so obviously people were still watching it, and people like shows with depth, you know, with some deepness to them. Yeah, you know, I tend to watch those more. So
yeah, and that was my favorite surprise about the show, is that it actually had the depth, you know, and it's one of those things where, you know, to stick to the show too, like if you compare it to WandaVision, for example, I slightly liked WandaVision more based on like just the concept and the out there ideas that they tried. But what I loved more about Falcon and Winter Soldier was the longer episodes and the fact that it touched on that depth. Right. And even the longer episodes allowed them to do that. It would have been hard, you know, think of some of the different plot threads or character moments between Sam or Bucky, or the Isaiah Bradley thing, or the Carly, or frickin' what's the bad John Walker, like
John Walker, yeah.
Some of those plot threads would have either been heavily shortened or lost entirely. But I think by giving them 6 long episodes that were like mini movies, you could really dive into the depth, which is like, and you said too, like it made you cry. Like I was almost the same. I was very emotional a couple of times throughout this show, and I loved WandaVision again as a show a little bit more. But I never got emotional really. Yeah. Well, okay. the very end when she kisses Vision goodbye.
That part got people. That
was brutal. But other than that, I was like, this is fun, you know.
Yeah.
But Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was like, this is deep, like very different, and I love that about it, you know.
I will say this: the scene that I think got everybody in Falcon and Winter Soldier was Isaiah Bradley's memorial when they went through the.
I was gone.
That part got every. I'm like, yep. I'm like, this part right here finna get everybody.
Yeah, I was right here. Yeah, I was already almost there, and that just put me over the edge.
There was one thing that I was kind of like not complaining about, but I was like I kind of threw my hands up because I was like, dude, Isaiah was like, you know, leave me buried. Like if they even know I exist, I'm a dead man kind of thing. And I was like, well, suddenly at this famous exhibit with Steve Rogers all over the place, here comes this new thing with this Isaiah Bradley character that was like, oh, and then the brand new Captain America walks around with this other guy and they're hugging and crying in front of the statue. I'm like, I feel like people are going to find Isaiah if he's out there. Like,
well, here's my thing though. That's how Isaiah Bradley felt. And he had every reason to feel that way, but that wasn't the reality anymore. There was a time where maybe he had to worry about that, but I think that time had passed, but he hadn't passed that yet.
Oh,
that was.
So you think
I think that's what they were trying to say. That's something he was dealing with inside. I know that feel. I mean, I know that feeling, but I know like older black men I've grown up with, they carry this angst because of how they were treated, and they don't. You know, it's hard for them sometimes to see that things are better. They're not perfect, but they are better, and you can't drag all those old feelings into the now because you'll never get past it yourself. So I think that's what they were trying to do there, and it worked for me. I thought it worked.
Okay,
it worked.
That makes sense.
It worked because in the comics, Steve found out, and when Steve found out, Steve went off.
He found out about what happened to the whole team and all that.
Happy about it at
and
all.
That was like on the road to, because in the comics, Steve don't even care about the U.S. government. He's like, Cap is for the world. I save the planet. I don't work for the U.S. government.
Right.
And that was it was Winter Soldier. All this stuff started. It was like a domino effect. Mm-hmm. And Steve just got to the point where he was just like, you know what? I don't trust y'all. I don't. Now in the 40s and 50s, I did, but I don't trust y'all no more.
Yeah.
Because in the comics, he goes to Isaiah Bradley's house. Steve does.
Oh man, I wish we could have seen that.
Yeah, and they talk.
We may still get that.
Yeah, they actually talk. So,
it definitely was something that it was tough because as we talked about it watching it again, like all those Isaiah scenes were so good, but I kind of was like, man, I know that like Isaiah doesn't know, but it almost seemed like they were trying to like diss Steve Rogers a little bit. And it was cool to see Sam try to stick up for his friend. He was like, Steve didn't put you in jail or whatever he said.
Yeah.
But
that's my point. He had that animosity towards everything.
Anybody,
And he was trying to explain. He was trying to show him that not everybody is that way. I know you have every right to feel how you feel, but not everybody is your enemy, basically.
Yeah, it definitely like I got the motivation of the two of them, but it was almost like just as a fan and because
I get you.
Steve is like
I want to see it too.
I was like, man, he's the dude, and knowing that they met, like you said, Jay, at some point in the comics, that'll be cool if we.
That was one of my one things that because I love Marvel for doing this. They take parts of the comics and put them in live action. But they can't do everything.
Right.
So
the story is different.
Literally impossible.
Yeah. It's literally impossible. But the stuff that you know from the comics, like me, I've read Truth, Red, White, and Black, which is the Isaiah Bradley 7-issue mini series. I think they have the graphic novel up on Amazon if you guys want to go try and get it. People in the chat. It's actually a very good comic.
Does it cover the whole thing that he talked about?
Everything that he talks about is from that comic. Like
they should make that a show. They could make that a 1-season show, right? Or no?
They could, but
I don't know if they're too much. Kind of going backwards though. If they did,
and it's that comic is. I don't think people are ready for that. Yeah,
I mean, I guess I get if you think it might be too much for people, I do get that.
Yeah,
but when I picture it based on your description and from the story he told, I picture it as like almost like the first Captain America that just took place.
It's kind of like that. It's like that, but in reverse.
Oh, okay. How so?
Because like they went and they lied to all the people in his squad. They lied to all of them. So all of them.
Oh yeah. You mean the story?
So, the story. So it's kind of like, and like they were literally about to destroy that entire compound, and he pretty much broke rank and went and saved them.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah. So
sounds awesome.
Everything that he described was from Red, White, and Black.
Yeah. It's just how do you end that scene? You know, because it's not gonna be a happy ending.
It's not gonna be a happy ending.
That is true.
There's no way to do that as a happy ending.
You know how you could do it though? You know how you could do it is if in the last episode of, let's say they did like a 6-episode show again, the last episode could pick up in the current time with the current Isaiah. Something like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, because if you do that, you can have grandson. Yeah, talking to Eli, because Eli actually becomes.
He's a comic character, right?
Yeah, he becomes Patriot. He's a young Avenger.
Yeah. So that would work. That actually would work.
Because one of the things about Eli was he was always good at sports, so people just thought he was a mutant, but he wasn't. And he gets in an accident. He has to get a blood transfusion from Isaiah, and that is what kickstarts the super soldier stuff that's already in his DNA. And that's when they give him they give him a shield, but it's the Triton shield, and it's pretty much fully adamantium, so it doesn't break.
Yeah,
sweet. So they kind of setting up young Avengers in the shows. I'm seeing how they're doing it. Yeah, because I think Miss Marvel's coming and Hawkeye's coming, and Hawkeye's with Kate Bishop. So
Kate's going to be in that. So they're setting up young Avengers.
Yeah. Now I don't know exactly how. I don't know if they're going to do a movie or just have that be like a show series.
I need a movie.
It can go both ways. It can go either way.
I would prefer a movie, but it's hard to predict because it's like obviously like Disney just in general is diving so much into Disney Plus. There was like 12 Star Wars shows too, right? Like all these Marvel shows. And it's cool. Like, and it's great.
That at some point that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean it's cool, but like I also just like sometimes I just like the simplicity of a movie or two. Like I just need 1-2 hour beginning to end kind of thing. And we might also still be waiting a year or two for the industry to catch up to making new movies potentially with COVID. So
I mean
who knows what
that is true
what
too.
To be honest, this comes at the best time because of COVID. This comes at the best time. If we didn't have this pandemic, it'd probably feel like sensory overload. Because everything would have been on schedule, so it probably would have felt like sensory overload. But since the pandemic hit and everything got pushed back and turned around, upside down, and all that, it actually comes right on time.
Yeah. Hollywood needed to slow down so they can come up with some better ideas anyway. So
I agree with that. Star Wars had to do that, and so we'll see if that plays out for them or not. You know, maybe not. I'm curious if you guys think that because Black Widow's the next movie. And I feel like I'm one of the only people on Earth who's really excited for that, but I am really excited.
I am.
I'm excited.
People are weird on it, but if you think about it, like the schedule with WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and Black Widow kind of got moved around the last year. Do you expect that Black Widow might have some kind of connection to this show at all, or vice versa?
There's one.
Yeah, there's one.
There's one that was confirmed.
That there's Julia one Dreyfus, connection.
Yeah, Julia Dreyfus was supposed to. Her character was supposed to be in Black Widow first.
Yeah,
and that's why like her scenes in this are like short but she was the surprise character for Black Widow.
Yeah. Interesting, because and she's a character I didn't know. Like Jay, you explained she was a comic character. I didn't know her. So interesting. Okay, that maybe she was going to be like in a post-credit scene or something.
I don't know. They did an interview with her, but she still technically can't talk about Black Widow, even though it's all jacked up. She can't really talk about it, but she didn't say so. I'm guessing either she's in a post-credit scene or she's like a shadow villain that they just were saving for when people went to go see the movie.
Yeah.
Because they don't show her in any of the trailers.
Yeah, that's kind of why I thought post credits maybe.
But I'm like, Taskmaster don't do stuff on his own. He's always hired by somebody. Yeah. So I'm thinking she's the one who hired.
She's probably running Taskmaster.
Yeah. So that's one of those things. I think the way with what Kevin Feige has said in the past, the Disney Plus shows are going to be integral to them being able to make their movies smoother. Because you watch the show, you already have an idea of what's going on set up for this phase of what they're trying to do, which I think makes sense. I know a lot of people are not going to like that, but just like with with their movie schedule that they did those 24 movies in 11 seasons. Like you had to watch them before you got the Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
You had to.
Mhm.
So they're letting you know ahead of time. Look, this stuff is all going to be connected. So buckle up.
So are you telling me getting Disney Plus as the adjective wasn't a bad idea, Mr. John Boyega?
I honestly think if John gets a Marvel contract, he probably would not be mad.
Yeah.
I don't think he would be upset about it because they're locking them
away from Star Wars. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're locking people down for like 6 and 7 movies. They're locking people down.
It makes me. I don't want to tangent this into what I shouldn't, but it makes me so upset when I think about Star Wars and how they did everything wrong, and like, oh my god, they could have done the same. They started off pretty strong, man. They started off not too bad. I was like, I'm in for this ride, man, and that ride immediately took like the wrong direction. But I was like,
I don't even want to get started.
But I will say this. This is the difference between a plan and not having a plan.
Right.
When you have a plan, because at this point, Kevin Feige, all he has to do is just put the pieces into his plan.
Right.
He's already got the roadmap.
He is a planner for sure.
Yeah. If you don't have a plan, then you have what Star Wars have. Good idea. It's the Animaniacs. Good idea, bad idea. So,
yeah, and it makes me really angry too because I this is the last thing I'll say on Star Wars. I promise, guys. They had initially someone who was their plan, and controversial as he may be, George Lucas was on board with his planned story, and they could have molded it a little bit more if they wanted to do that, whatever. But when it came out, what they did, and they kind of were just like, no, we're going to make different stories and just
they rejected his whole thing, and I'm like,
and they went away from it, and they didn't work with, and George decided not to work with them because of that. Like that was your Kevin Feige. Like Kevin Feige really is the modern George Lucas and doing it really well. Mm-hmm. And they had the same thing, but they let that go, and you can see the difference with how the two have worked out. Like. I think they're going to come around with Star Wars. I think they're finally getting on a good path. I mean, but it was such a dip for a while.
He was certainly planning because he was talking to Mark Hamill in the '80s about far off into the future, being the Obi-Wan when you get older. For the Star Wars series at that point. So he was already, they kind of used him that way, but obviously. Yeah. In a different way.
I think a lot of people, forget this or didn't even know this, but George actually had Mark Carey and Harrison. He's the one who got them on board before he started talking to Disney.
Yeah. So, this is already in the works with him.
That was already in the works.
Yep. Yeah. So Disney didn't convince the original 3 to come back and Peter Mayhew. It was
George. Yeah.
That's they came back for him. So he kind of jerked him around a little bit. George kind of did him dirty in that one respect, but he's the reason that even had a chance in the beginning at all. So
boy,
anyway,
that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, the whole
tangent over. My bad, guys.
Yeah. It's understandable because it kind of does mesh because they are under the same umbrella. Yeah, so it does make sense. But I mean that's the. And people will get mad. You can get mad all you want to, but the MCU proved that if you plan stuff out, it does work.
Yeah, that was my, getting back to the social commentary and whatnot. That was one of my gripes with Marvel up until the last couple of years or so, is that they were very kind of cookie cutter to me. Mm-hmm. They didn't really want to dive into stuff, and to see them actually starting to do that, and people being upset about it. That's annoying, but that's going to happen. Yeah. There's always, struggle when change is happening and people don't like it. But eventually we'll get past the point where we won't even have to point these things out anymore. They'll just be things,
That's the end. That's the end goal,
right? That's the end game.
That's the real end game.
Yeah.
Just make it normal,
Yep.
And now for one of my most annoying 80s references, and knowing is half the battle. All right, people. I hope you guys enjoyed this season review of Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Leave a comment. Let us know what you guys thought. What do you think will happen for season 2? Do you want to see a season 2? We already know the movie is happening. It's probably going to make $1.4 billion.
Mhm.
And so I'm just saying, I hope you guys enjoyed it. T, thanks for stopping by. Rob, always a pleasure. And we will see you guys on our next Fresh Take. Peace.